What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into the channel. Today we're going to be going over Myrtle Beach Games 4-0 Han 1 yellow deck list ran by Ryan that won this past week's Myrtle Beach Games tournament. It's just the locals, but still it's a really solid deck. It's a really fun deck to play, but it does take some getting used to and some practice to really master this deck, because you have to know when to use Han's ability, when not to use Han's ability, because you can end up putting yourself in a really bad position if you don't know when and how to really use the deck to its fullest potential, right? We're also going to be showing a best of 3 of the finals. It was Han Yellow against Sabine Green. Sabine Green really struggles in this matchup, and you're going to see exactly why. So if you are struggling against the aggro matchup or Sabine in general, this is a really good option and answer to that, right? This deck has a lot of answers to Sabine, slows it down, and just can completely flip the game in a matter of seconds. And you're going to be able to see that in one of the matches that we're going to be showing today, right? At the end of this video, please stay tuned to that, because if you are in the South Carolina, North Carolina area, we have a big circuit of tournaments that we want to go ahead and showcase for you guys. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to give you some of the information. And as more information does come out on it, I'm going to go ahead and put more information in my community tab about these tournaments, right? There are some really cool prizes. And I'm going to go over it at the end of the video. So make sure you tune in to the end of the video. But without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into this deck list. Han Solo is really strong for a reason. It's able to go ahead and use his ability to cheat out resources, so you can go ahead and play units or events faster than you would in normal decks, right? His ability to allow you to put a card from your hand down as a readied resource, and then at the start of your next action phase, you defeat one of your resources, but still in the moment, is really strong, right? On turn 1, being able to cheat out a 3-cost unit and then using it for favorable trades on turn 2 to set your opponent back if you have the initiative, although you are going to be probably giving up the initiative to do that, but still being able to get rid of pretty much anything that your opponent plays if they're not playing control is just really solid. And then when he's out as a leader unit, on attack, you take the top card of your deck and put it in as a ready resource. This allows you to put a card from your hand when you have 5 resources down, and then attack with Han Solo after you play him, and then bring out a resource from the top of your deck, putting you at 7 on the 5 resource turn, which can set you up for some really crazy combos, which is really nice. Also, another combination that makes this deck so lethal against decks that have leaders that come out on round 6, Tech and DJ combo, that's really, really strong. If you have Tech out and your opponent does not take Tech out, then you go ahead and you play DJ for 5 from Smuggle. When you do that, you take control of a resource. If your opponent doesn't take out DJ at that point, then they're going to lose that resource, because you can use Han Solo's ability to pop that resource, and it's just, again, devastating. It's really hard to come back from that if you're playing a 6-cost leader or more, because you're not going to be able to get your leader out on like when you expected, right? You're set back a resource, and now Han Solo was able to use his ability and not have to blow up his own resource. He blew up your resource. So that's one of the crazy combos that can really set you back. There's not really many 2-drops in this deck. As you see, there's only L337 and R2D2, right? You're rocking with both droids for your 2-drops. But again, in this deck, you don't really need that many, right? You can go ahead and play these things on turn 1 if you get it. You can also play a Spark of Rebellion on turn 1 if you have the initiative, to just go ahead and get rid of your opponent's turn 1 play and kind of set them back so they can't do anything on turn 1. And then really you're just starting the game with 3 resources, which is just really good, especially in the Han Solo deck. But also you can go ahead and play Bodhi Rook, Ezra, Liberated Slaves. You can play Tech on turn 1. You can play DJ on turn 1 using Han Solo's ability. And then also being able to play Millennium Falcon on turn 1 makes it so your opponent has to think twice about playing space units, especially if you're playing as Sabine. I am a Sabine player, though I'm starting to think I might have to find a new deck because it's not performing as well as it once did. Still going to rock it. Still going to rock with it, though. But fearing the Millennium Falcon when playing up against Han Solo, double yellow, or just Han Solo in general, I know that I can't on turn 1 play in space, because you have to fear the Falcon coming out. And if that's the case, then he just takes out your unit, and then on turn 1 he takes out your unit, and then he's able to go ahead and just really start getting those tempo plays. It really sets you back. So really you have to go ahead and play something on the ground to guarantee that you can keep something on the board against Han Solo, and that's what's really scary with the Millennium Falcon and his ability on turn 1, right? In this deck, you also have a ton of options for ambush, which like really slows down your opponent. You have Plo Koon, right? You have Syndicate Lackeys. you have Han Solo, you have the Auzituck Liberator gunship, the Millennium Falcon Lando's Pride. When you play it from hand, it gains ambush. So he has a bunch of options here to kind of keep you under control while also trying to keep his units on the board, right? Plo Koon, if he has 3+ units, it hits for 6 and has 6 HP. That's pretty good. Syndicate Lackeys is probably his Sabine answer, just in case he just wants to just, on the 4 resource turn, use Han's ability, set himself up to make it so his opponent fears flipping Sabine. Syndicate Lackeys is a good answer for that. You have Emphas Nest. Emphas Nest is a problem, because when played and on attack, you may return an enemy non-leader unit with less power than his unit to the owner's hand. And this happens every single turn. If he continues to get initiative and continues to attack, then he's just bouncing everything you play, which is just, it's just crazy. Han Solo, we all know what he does. He has shoot first built into the card, so when he attacks, if he doesn't, if he takes out the unit, he takes no damage, which is just really strong. And then the other 2 are just ambush in space. Again, there's a lot of space units in the meta right now, with the Django deck and Cad Bane and stuff like that. So having these ambushing space units is a really good fallback in space. You also have things like Surprise Strike for more tempo plays, but also Cunning 4/4 is really strong because you can go ahead and exhaust units, slowing down your opponent. Again, another good card against Sabine. Bounce cards back to your opponent's hand. You can go ahead and give something +4/+0, or you can have your opponent randomly discard a card. So again, it's just a really good way to set back your opponent. And then the Hotshot Blaster, like Surprise Strike, you can go ahead and attack with units if you play it for Smuggle for 3. And then, you know, both of these, Surprise Strike, attack with a unit +3/+0. Go ahead, play this from Smuggle, get +2/+0 on the attack. Again, just more tempo to get you some good burst damage, and maybe a good way to finish off games as well. Another couple of cards I want to talk about, we have Spark Rebellion and Kira, right? Both give you hand knowledge. So does Bodhi Rook, right? Those 3 cards give you hand knowledge. Bodhi Rook allows you to look at your opponent's hand, discard a non-unit card from it. So again, if you're playing against Sabine and you're afraid of the Darksaber or Rebel Assault or anything like that, boom, play Bodhi, pop the thing right from their hand, right? Also against control as well, it's a good card for that. Kira, you get to look at your opponent's hand and name a card. It costs 3 more to play as long as Kira's on the board. That could be really devastating. And then you also have Spark Rebellion, just look at your opponent's hand and discard a card from it. Against control or aggro, early, late, this is just a really solid card to make sure that you're not going to be fearing certain cards from your opponent, because you can just look at their hand and make sure they don't have it in hand, and you can kind of play freely from there, right? So the deck has a lot of options for tempo plays, hand knowledge, hand disrupt, right? You can hand hate on your opponent. You can bounce things from the board back to your opponent's hand with Cantina Bouncer and Cunning. It's just a lot of things to really kind of screw your opponent over and just kind of slow them down and make it so every time that they play a card, potentially it's going back to their hand, or it's getting exhausted, or just killed because you have bigger units because you were able to cheat them out faster than your opponent. So that's what makes this deck so devastating. The sideboard is pretty typical, right? You have Confiscates. A lot of decks are running Confiscate right now, and they're going to continue to do so. Bamboozle, this is really good against the control matchup if they are playing Charlton, right? They're playing Charlton. This can go ahead and get rid of all those extra EXP tokens, and that could, you know, against other decks could be a problem, but against this one, right, you just exhaust it and pop all those experience tokens, kill it a lot easier. The extra Kira and the extra Cantina Bouncer, pretty typical there. You have Change of Heart. Against certain decks, this is pretty good to use to kind of take one of your opponent's big units, whether it be against control and take over the Avenger, or you can go ahead and take over, you know, some other units like Snoke for a turn. It's just pretty solid. Then you have Fennec Shand. If you do have a ton of different cost units in the graveyard, you can go ahead and use this as another ambush unit, but it also deals damage for every different cost in your graveyard. But yeah, this is the entirety of the Han Solo deck list. It's a lot of fun. Check it down in the description below. Shout out to Ryan. He performed very well with it. But now we're going to go ahead and hop into the match that shows just how good this deck is against Sabine. All right, we are here with the first game, and you see, as I said in the deck list part of the video, Spark Rebellion turn 1, very strong, getting rid of the turn 1 play of the Sabine player. And now basically getting the game to start at 3 resources. Now, it's a little bit iffy here. You see the threat of the Falcon, right? The Sabine player has a couple of space units, so really no option but to go ahead and play out a space unit and expect the Falcon, and here it is. Another reason the Han Solo deck is really difficult to play against, especially as Sabine, because it has multiple ways to get rid of certain problems, right? Turn 1 play, you see Spark Rebellion. Millennium Falcon then being able to play next turn and hitting the space unit because you got rid of the ground unit, right? And you knew that your opponent was going to play a space unit if they didn't draw another 3-drop unit. Now you see the Darksaber in hand. It would be really good to be able to play that and kind of provide that pressure in on the Han Solo player. But the Han Solo deck has a ton of answers for the Darksaber. Typically, you're going to see Yularen played over the Darksaber at this point, but just not in this case, right? See Kira come out, gonna call it Darksaber. Now the Darksaber costs 7 to play, and there is no way to play the Darksaber at this moment, right? You see the Green Squadron A-Wing come out, and then Sabine hits into the base for 3. Yes, you know, you could potentially try to get rid of Kira here, but, you know, you're only going to be able to get in 2 damage, yes, 1 on base, and then take back 3, and then you basically are going to trade negatively from there with Sabine into Kira, because Kira would take out Sabine and still stay alive after the fact. So there's just no point of doing that, getting the 3 damage on base. Try to get as much damage in as possible, right? Han Solo now bring out the Hotshot Blaster to take out Sabine, right? Only taking 2 back, and now you have basically a 5/5 on the board with that Hotshot Blaster, which is pretty scary, right? Another 3 damage to base here. Trying to get as much damage in as possible. And now you see Han Solo going to 6 resources, making it so he can now come out as a leader unit, then would put him potentially to 7. You see the Poe come out here. Han Solo is out. The initiative's taken. And again, you have to worry about Poe Dameron, right? You have to take him out. If you have Surprise Strike or Hotshot Blaster, you probably use it here, right? He already used 1 Hotshot Blaster, so the Sabine player felt like they were safe to put up Poe, not to really worry about it. And there's another Hotshot Blaster. So it is a trade 1-for-1, but the Sabine player is in much worse situation because of the fact that Kira is still hitting for 5 and everything's being removed here. We still have ECL up, but the Han player, I don't think worries as much for it because yes, you can go ahead and ECL out maybe another Poe, maybe Wrecker, right? But then he still has the option of using Han Solo or his other ambushing units in his deck to clear out those units after they hit into one of the units on the board. So Han Solo is in a really good position here. Yes, it has more damage on base right now, but still not stressing at all. You see the Wrecker probably should attack with the Green Squadron A-Wing here just to get the damage off. Being able to add in 3 damage here would be better just in case he's going to bounce and stuff like that. So make sure you get your damage in before you play other cards in hand in most matchups, right? But you see the Wrecker coming out here, no ambush, right? The reason being is probably getting ready for the Han Solo. Expecting the Han Solo on this turn to come in and take out the Wrecker anyway. So wasting the ECL here while having another Wrecker in hand doesn't feel as good. So the Wrecker is played again. Probably should have gotten in some damage here first, but we now get the chance to swing in with the Green Squadron A-Wing for 3. And then you see the Han Solo. Here, being able to deal damage without taking damage back is why Han Solo is so good. The Battlefield Marine going down. Probably should have dropped maybe a higher costed units because we're going to need to start flooding the board in this matchup, right? Being able to get out potentially 2 units, which you can, but being able to now ambush out the Wrecker popping a resource and then dealing excess damage into the base to try to get more damage in on the board, right? And not attacking with the green squadron first is just to kind of make sure that the Han Solo doesn't hit the base for 6, trying to keep your base as healthy as possible, right? Now you see the Anthus Nest, and this is where things kind of take a turn, and this is what I talked about. This is where Han Solo now kind of takes over, being able to bounce units from the board into hand with Anthus Nest and other cards in the deck to really set your opponent back, to really not be able to even come up with answers, right? You can go ahead and try to flood the board with as many little things as possible, but if he's just going to go ahead and bounce a ton of units back to hand, using attacks, all that stuff, it does not matter, right? So you see, first off, you have the Green Squadron A-Wing come out, the Anthus Nest attacks for 5, okay? The Green Squadron A-Wing goes back to hand, the base takes a chunk, right? That is 20% of the base in one swing, right? You have the, now you have K2SO coming out, boom, Cantina Bouncer. So now you have the Millennium Falcon coming out and dealing another 3, putting the ECL up to 10 damage. You have 2 5 damage units coming in off the ground. You have Millennium Falcon in space. So you can play out your Green Squadron A-Wing, does not matter. Falcon will take it out. You can play K2SO back out. Anthus Nest on attack will bounce it back to hand. Cantina Bouncer, just going to hit your base or one of your units you play. Just going to go ahead and ping, because it's really just trying to keep things on the board. But again, he can just go ahead and play a unit. He's just going to swing in with the Falcon. So, oh look, Falcon swung. I don't have to worry about it. Boom, Anthus Nest. Back to your hand. So, this is what I'm talking about when it comes to Han Solo against Sabine. If you don't have a lot of your speed pieces early, a lot of your tempo pieces to kind of, you know, put on the pressure onto Han, there's nothing you can really do in the mid to late game while you have a board state like this, because it becomes too much for Sabine to like overtake. And that's why Sabine kind of has a rough time in the current meta, right? All right, here for game 2, you're going to see some shuffling and stuff like that. But I do want to talk about Sabine in the current meta, right? I do think Sabine struggles against Han Solo and struggles against Boss Blue, right? 2 of the top decks in the current meta. I think that Sabine has a fine matchup against Django Red. I think Cad Bane Red is a harder matchup for Sabine than Django is, to be honest. But still, like, Sabine was once, like, undoubtedly number 2. But I think that currently she's probably, like, maybe the 4th, or even 5th deck currently in, like, top. Like, the deck's still good. Don't get me wrong. The deck can still perform very well in high competition. But I do think Han Solo has a really good matchup into it. I think that Boss Blue has a good matchup into it. I also think that, you know, Ray Red and Luke and stuff like that have a good matchup into it, as you see the deck being cut here. I just think that Sabine might not be as scary as it once was. I still think it's very strong. I still think it's going to do well. I'm still going to use it in SCG Con Atlanta, but I just need to kind of figure it out. Obviously, I have Yularen in my deck list. I just didn't have it in this local, so I wanted to test it out. Back to the Darksaber, but we're going to go back to Yularen after this. All right, we are here for game 2. Sorry about the jump back, but we're going to get started here. And you see the opening hand for the Sabine player. As I just stated before, I think that Sabine currently struggles with a few of the top decks in the meta, and Han Solo being one of them, right? Because Han Solo has answers to anything that it plays turn 1 in space. And then also, if I play something in the ground, he can just go ahead and cheat out something a little bit early and then have favorable trades later on. Rebel Pathfinder is also a really unfortunate start because you're going to kind of see how things unfold here, right? You're going to see Han Solo's ability come out here to cheat out a unit, the 3 cost early, right? Bodhi Rook taking out the Rebel Assault from hand, right? That's really good. I can't, you know, cheat out a bunch of damage if I wanted to, but also you're going to see, yes, I have Fleet Lieutenant. I'm going to be able to deal 4 damage to base. Cool. But Bodhi Rook now trades into Rebel Pathfinder and stays on the board. That's exactly what the Han Solo player wants. He wants to control the board while keeping his units in play. and make it so I have less units in play. And it's really difficult to kind of get over it if I'm not making him trade 1-for-1. If I had a Battlefield Marine, that'd be way better, but it is what it is, right? Now we go ahead and we ping, and you see the liberated slaves. This, again, you're seeing a problem for the Sabine player here. Yes, I have the Fleet Lieutenant to go ahead and hit in the base for 5, but Bodhi Rook trades in with one of them, Liberated Slaves trades in with the other. I can go ahead and bring out Sabine early to try to do something, but it doesn't matter because there's still going to be a lot of trades here, right? You see the Han player going up to 5 resources, and I know the Syndicate Lackeys out there. If that's the case, if he goes up to 5, Syndicate Lackeys is coming out. No matter how I played that out, I was losing everything on the board that turn, while my opponent was keeping everything except for 1 unit. And that's exactly what the Han player wants, right? You're seeing the board control while also keeping his tempo going, right? He has his units stay on the board. He has Liberated Slaves and a Syndicate Lackey, and it's now just a really bad situation. You see the Poe and the K2SO come out here, which is pretty solid, right? It's not terrible, but like, let's say I had drawn the K2SO last turn, it would have been a little bit better to be able to play that, just attack with the Fleet Lieutenant in for 3 and play K2SO. Wouldn't be able to play around a little bit more, but that's not the case here, right? I have to pretty much decide if I want to just play the Poe Dameron and let those two swing into it and trade, or use ECL. Now, I figured using ECL might be a little bit better to kind of clear up the board and try to keep it on board, but I know that my opponent can also just play Han and trade for the rest of it, or use Han's ability, swing into base, and then use Han Solo to come out with ambush and take out Poe, which, you know, as you saw in the first game, everything on curve perfectly for the Han player. The 2 Hotshot Blasters, Han Solo, Anthus Nest, it's like everything perfect on curve. This game is very similar, right? You have, I'm just going to go ahead and ping, just try to get as much damage as possible, but he's now up to 6 resources. You see the Han come out, he's going to go ahead and swing into base. Here, he's going to go ahead and deal 4 damage to my base and put himself at 7 resources because he has that Han in hand. And then Han comes out, he takes out Poe, and he has Han and Han on the board dealing out 10 damage a turn at that point. And there's really nothing the Sabine player can do at this point. And that's just, like, this deck has the tools to handle Sabine very well, and you're seeing just how well in these two. In this, like, best of 3, it obviously ends up just being 2 games. But yeah, it's a struggle for Sabine players right now, right? You're just trying to, you know, hope for certain things. Hope that things kind of work out, but now you see the K2SO come out here. You know, oh, maybe he'll swing into it. I can be able to get 3 damage on the base. It doesn't really matter, but he has no reason to swing into it, right? He goes ahead and he swings into base for 4 here. He gets another resource. It looks like that was a Hotshot Blaster. And it was. So using Han's ability, getting lucky, getting a Hotshot Blaster, hitting in for 8. Yeah, you know, this is exactly what the Han player wants to see. And this is like, if you can get everything going right, this is about what to expect when you're playing Han, right? A ton of fun, like, combinations, fun turns. You can, again, cheat out Han Solo early, cheat out other Han Solo with Han Solo's ability. Like, you can clear out big threats using that combination. He didn't have to use DJ Tech combo. Obviously, against Sabine, it's not as good as it is against maybe an Anakin or Boss or anything like that. But still, it is what it is. So that's going to do it for the matchup. Han Solo just basically dismantling the Sabine player. And yeah, you just see how good the deck truly is. We're going to go ahead and hop in to an announcement about a tournament, so I'll be right back. All right, guys, I have a huge announcement for you guys regarding some tournaments in South Carolina area, right? On the Play Games is working with 4 game stores to try to create this circuit of tournaments. It's going to be a ton of fun. Myrtle Beach Games, Grand Line Games, Final Round Game Shop, and Zenergy Gamers all came together in efforts to kind of put together a bunch of tournaments for you guys to get you guys from different locations in South Carolina together to kind of make bigger events for you guys with bigger payouts and bigger prize pools as well, right? As you see, it's a 250 minimum cash stipend, right? But we also have some 3D printed prizes, including, you know, initiative tokens and stuff like that for each store, right? They're all going to be designed for each store. You see the base holder there. You can keep track of the damage on base while also holding the base inside of it for protection. There's going to be some game mats, I'm pretty sure. And then also, as more people sign up and as more people are committed to coming and more people show up, you're going to see the prize pool grow, right? Let's just say January 19th, let's say 60 people come to that event. The cash stipend jumps up to $750. You see, I believe we're throwing in 7 booster boxes as prize support. So that's over a case worth of booster boxes for the people in the tournament. So there's going to be a ton of things, including the tokens, the game mats, and the 3D printed stuff. So let's try to get as many people around the area in as possible. North Carolina, South Carolina, everyone, come show the support to these game stores. It'd be a really cool event, and because you can go from one to the other, and as you continue to do more, you can win more and more prizes. And I'll be there. I would love to play some games with you guys, and also using this high level competition to get ready for the planetary qualifiers. Now, yes, I know that the January 19th start date for these events is after the Greenville planetary qualifier, but we still have the Durham planetary qualifier to get ready for, and then also other ones if you guys plan on traveling around to play in other PQs like I do. I plan on going to New Jersey and a few other places for some big events. These are some other events to kind of get you ready for that, because hopefully we'll have some big turnouts and it'll be a lot of fun. Hope to see you guys there. And as I get more information and as we get closer, I'm going to continue to update my community tab with stuff from this event. With that being said, we're going to go on and get out of here. I want to thank you guys for all the support. If you guys are new here and enjoying the content, make sure you hit that sub button down below. Also, make sure you check out the description down below to check out Maclunky Gaming's channel. As a team member of Maclunky Gaming's, they have a ton of good, high-quality content for some big competitions like PQs and SCG cons. They stream live content, and then they also just do the commentating for it. It's high-quality content, high-quality commentating, so if you enjoy best of threes in high-stakes matches of Star Wars Unlimited, that's the place you want to go. Check out the channel down below and subscribe to them as well. With that being said, we're going to go on and get out of here. Thank you so much again, and I'll see you guys next time.